Hello and welcome to the Ryan Poaches Show with me, Daniel Waterson, looking back at Hibs' 0-0 draw with Rangers at Easter Road. Coming up, James Delaney and I talk through the match. We have post-match reaction from Neil Lennon and Stevenson. But first, let's remind ourselves of some of the highlights with Cliff Pike and Keith Reid.
Craig Thompson allows the play to continue as the Rangers man goes down. I think Ryan Poaches will now find his way into the referee's book though for a siding challenge. Call back and ambles slowly across towards Craig Thompson with a huge grin on his face.
James, we are very balanced on this show. We always give a fairly good perspective. So with that being said, obviously an absolute travesty that Hibs only come away with this with a point. Definitely should have got all three.
Dominated it from start to finish. Barely gave Rangers a look in. Once again, I feel the officiating's cost us. And a back to the wall job tonight. You know, I think by around about maybe the hour mark, it was pretty clear it was going to be attack against defence. We had a couple of breaks, but I mean, I think, you know, everybody can accept it. It wasn't a great performance, and we absolutely rode our luck for large parts of that game. It's the mark of a good team to grind out results when you're not playing well, though. And I think tonight, defensively, despite a few lapses in concentration, I thought we marshalled that Rangers front line okay. Like I say, there was a few kind of lapses. There was a few times where we got away with one, but you know, a clean sheet against this Rangers team is nothing to be sniffed at. A point, given that we've just come off the back of a 2-0 win against Celtic, where the team has put in a momentous effort. It's certainly not to be sniffed at, and you know, at least keeps our run going. And we have a good chance to extend that next Saturday against Stevenson.
I think something that's maybe going to slip under the radar, just because of the calibre of, well, not the calibre of opposition, but just because of who the opposition have been the last couple of games, is that the form's turned around. That's obviously 7 points out of a possible 9, but it's also 3 clean sheets.
Yeah.
And I think just getting back to this solid back four, and the pairing of Ambrose and the pairing of Ambrose and Poaches is just going from strength to strength almost.
Yeah, and again, you know, tonight I thought the two of them, you know, I don't think anybody was really innocent of mistakes tonight, bar maybe Adam Bogdan, who came on, was fantastic.
Yeah.
And Ofri Marciano had no time to make any mistakes at all. You know, I thought, again, it was another solid performance tonight. Ryan Poaches delivered, I mean, what can only really be described as an act of GBH on Koulibaly, but you know, gets booked for it. At that stage, you were looking for somebody to take one for the team, and Ryan, you know, is mature enough, despite only being 19, to step up and do that. Effie at times, you know, I mean, he's always the coolest man on the pitch in a metaphorical sense, but in a literal sense was the coolest man on the pitch as well. At times, again, you know, he struggled with Morelos' movement and Morelos' pace occasionally, as our entire back line did. But you know, for guys like Paul Hanlon and Darren McGregor looking in at this point, it's not going to be easy for them to just come back into the team straight away. Even like Mark Milligan, who we've tried out at centre half at times during this season, is not certain of a place back in the team. So I think it speaks volumes for Effie and Ryan that they've now faced, you know, admittedly a poor side in Hamilton, but two of the top sides in the league in Celtic and Rangers, and not conceded any goals. You know, it's great for them, it's great for their confidence, and it's...
Would I be right in saying that Rangers are the highest scorers in the league so far this season?
That's a good question, and one that I'm sure somebody will have the answer to eventually. If we just keep talking long enough.
After tonight, with Celtic winning 3-0, both Rangers and Celtic have scored 39 goals this season.
Well, I mean, there you go, you know, and we've conceded 0 against them the past 2 games. So, yeah, I mean, that's not a bad total at all. Obviously, we still have to go to Ibrox in a few days' times, or in about, what is it, a week's time? Exactly a week's time, isn't it? So, you know, that remains to be seen how we perform there. But certainly over the past 2 games, it's been impressive, and it's given, I'm sure, given Neil Lennon a real selection headache if Paul comes back from his injury relatively soon. And obviously with Darren on the bench as well, we've got 2 good deputies.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of talk. I think the chat from the Hibs fans as they left the stadium would probably be about that incident in the last, I mean, I think it was the last incident of the game. So Canberra gets ahead of Goldson with the way the ball falls. I think is it Boyle's clean through on goal, isn't he?
It's Canberra, I think.
Is it Canberra?
Yeah.
I thought the loose ball went to Boyle, but somebody's through on goal, most likely Canberra. It's more the delay from Thompson, so it's Canberra's through on goal, and it's a good second, maybe second and a half after the foul itself, or the quote unquote foul itself. But you know, for all we rode of luck, there's a huge incident that's possibly even cost us 3 points at the end there.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's, I guess, you know, from a Hibs point of view, it is easy to kind of overlook the preceding 90 minutes and just look at the incident in isolation. Certainly I'd love to see it back. Goldson takes his time to decide whether or not to go down, the same way that Craig Thompson takes his time whether or not to blow. I must admit, I wasn't looking at the linesman, so I don't know if he's flagged. I don't know if the fourth official's given him a little word in his ear. You know, I'm not sure. I wasn't really looking at that, at any of those people at the time of the incident, but certainly Flo Canberra's got a yard on Joe Worrell, I think, is the covering defender. He's through on goal 1-on-1. Flo traditionally doesn't miss those kind of chances, so you know, it's fine margins, but at the same time, you know, there were a few fine margins for us. There's Alfredo Morelos missing chance after chance. There's, you know, we've had a couple of Hibs players loose passes going straight to Rangers players, and Rangers going through on goal, and Adam Bogdan makes a couple of really good saves. There's a couple of loose balls in Hibs box that just don't quite go in. There
was one block from a Candia shot, and I think Poach's and they were like transformers, or you know, is it trying not Power Rangers? They're the ones that jump on each other to make a mega man.
Megazord.
Yeah. So Poach's climbed on Ambrosie's shoulders.
Poach's stand for Megazord.
they morphed and they blocked Candia's shot.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I think Rangers had a shout for a penalty as well. Having only seen it back once, I'm absolutely convinced it was the right decision. It definitely wasn't a penalty.
Yep.
Great officiating there by Craig Thompson. Oh, actually, no, that doesn't feel right to say that. Officiating there by Craig Thompson. But yeah, I mean, you know, it is those fine margins that define games. I doubt there's too many Hibs fans who are coming away disappointed we've only got a point from that game. But looking back, you know, maybe some of the chances that we did manage to carve out, we should have taken.
Yeah, so to take this back to the beginning, no changes. I don't think there was any surprise. Slivka's fit, so we start where we left off against Celtic. And I think the first chance fell Hibs' way. There's a Flo Canberra's kind of takes a very soft effort from about 20 yards out, but it's enough to make McGregor worry. It trickles wide, but right from the off, initially it was from both teams, but more so Hibs, a lot of loose passes, particularly in midfield, really basic mistakes that were lucky not to cost us.
Yeah, and I mean, you wonder if, you know, such a mammoth effort goes into the game on Sunday, if players are just a little bit tired. You know, I certainly think Stevie Malin didn't have his best game tonight. He was flagging at the end, but at least he was working, and at least he was sort of coming back. I thought at times his passing was a little bit off. I'm not just picking him out in isolation. You know, a couple of guys, Porteous at times, I don't think his passing was very good. Stephen Whittaker at times seemed to lose concentration. Even Effie Ambrose seemed to have a few moments where, you know, he's usually quite cool and composed, and although he was at other points during the game, he'd just take a rash one or take a swing at it, and it just wouldn't quite fall for anybody. So, you know, going back to sort of Rangers kind of taking their chances. I mean, we handed Rangers plenty of chances tonight. They just didn't take them. There's plenty of opportunities Morelos had that he should have absolutely buried. And for a guy who is, you know, the top scorer in the division at the moment, I think you were really expecting to see the back of the net ripple, and in the end it doesn't. You know, from our point of view, we'll take that. But at the same time, you know, there's probably, from Steven Gerrard's part, a real disappointment that they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net there.
Right, so I think after that Canberra one, it then does kind of, the screw turns towards Rangers' chances, particularly in the first half. I've got Grezda had their first shot away that was quite comfortably saved. That came from a slack pass, if I remember correctly. Marciano goes off for Bogdan, as we've already talked about. I mentioned to you that you probably won't see a stronger substitution goalie from in Easter Road for a long time from a Hibs point of view. Adam Bogdan coming on for Rafael Marciano.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, you know, obviously this doesn't apply to everybody, but you know, the sub-keeper is seen as kind of the easiest job in football. You know, you sit on the bench, you don't have to be quite up to the standard of the starting keeper, and when you do get brought on, nobody can really blame you. It's the sub-keeper, he barely plays. In Hibs' case, I don't think that's wholly accurate. I think we've got two keepers that, you know, are international goalkeepers. You know, two keepers who are playing at virtually the same level, and it's nice to sort of be able to make that change and make that swap, and know that we're not getting any kind of reduction in quality at all. You know, it looked innocuous when Bogdan goes off. It's just a Tavernier cross, and he catches it, but he immediately goes down. He obviously knows that his night's over. Obviously, hopefully it's a speedy recovery for him. But yeah, it's Bogdan comes on. Is very impressive in his performance. Makes 2 or 3 really, really good saves. Is very commanding in his area. There's a couple of corners that he came in and grabbed. And yeah, it's good to have that option off the bench, and definitely needed it tonight.
Yeah, and he was called upon pretty quickly. I mean, there was one, Koulibaly had a shot that I think went wide. It was quite comfortably saved, and then whatever it. And, the first big chance comes. Morelos turns Porches well. Morelos is a good. I've said it a couple of times during the game. You kind of forget, in amongst all the stuff you read about Alfredo Morelos, he is a good player. His finishing tonight was dreadful, thankfully, but he's a talented player, and he does very well to turn Porches, and that produces the first big save from Bogdan. It looks like he's going to score, and Bogdan sticks a leg out, and it's a very, very good block.
Yeah, I think kind of what people tend to forget about Alfredo Morelos is that he's very quick, and I think his movement is excellent.
He's strong as well.
He is strong for quite he's a sort of pocket rocket, isn't it? It's like he is normally a good finisher. Tonight he also didn't have his shooting boots on, but I think his movement is excellent. I think his reading of the game is excellent. There's a few times where the ball is up in the air, and obviously from up here, we look at it and go, well, the defender's winning that, or that's going out. He's able to read it. He was able to get him down a few times. But that one, he cuts back in on his right foot. You're expecting to see the back of the net ripple. It was actually sort of similar to the one he scores here last year, albeit over the other side of the box. But Adam Bogdan's obviously read his mind, gets his leg out to make the save. It's a really good stop, but that's an early warning sign there for him.
Yeah, and then there's not long after that, there's another slack. It's Malin. I think it's a back pass. It's very, very slack. It puts, I can't remember who it is it was put through, but I'm going to assume it's Morelos, because he missed everything tonight. And Bogdan again stands up well, makes a huge save, and at this point Hibs are almost the victims of their own downfall. From Rangers midfield is better. We said at half time on Hibs TV they are a much better team than they were last season based on tonight, and their midfield was quite simply just kind of outpowering ours in the first half.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem that we've had with Marvin Bartley being injured. He felt like tonight was probably a game where Marv would have thrived. With Mark Milligan only just coming back from an injury, I thought looked very composed when he came on. Certainly slowed the pace down in midfield a little bit where we were getting overrun. It's difficult to say at this stage, given that we don't know what's going to happen in January. I'm sure it's a position that we're looking at strengthening. I just feel that we're a little bit lightweight at the moment. I think on Sunday it was slightly different. Celtic are a slightly different side. They're a lot less physical in midfield, which is absolute madness that you're saying that with a guy like Scott Brown in there. But I thought we marshalled them really well on Sunday. Like I say, I don't know if there's a little bit of a hangover from that game, given the effort that was put in and given the amount of running that Hibs team did in that game. And it felt at times that we could have used a little bit more muscle in midfield. Certainly, the effort was there again. I thought everybody was chasing around like mad, and even when it wasn't coming off for guys like Malin and Emerson Hyndman, occasionally they were still hearing it back. They were still trying to get themselves in the way. And eventually the performances will come with that effort. It's just about keeping that going. But yeah, it's certainly a position that I think everybody knows we need to strengthen, and obviously the sooner Marvin Bartley and Mark Milligan are back up to full speed, the better. Yeah,
so to run through the rest of the first half chances we've got, there's a couple of dangerous Rangers corners. One was just begging for a touch to go in. Thankfully it's not there. Stevenson then kind of heads one off the line, but it's the lowest diving header clearance.
He almost does the worm across the ground to head the ball away. It's brilliant.
Hibs have half a chance from a counter attack. It's Horgan eventually gets the shot away. Credit to, I think it's Ryan Jack and Arfield, their tracking back was very impressive for that. Something that's obviously we didn't see from that Rangers side last season perhaps. Bogdan then has a save from Tavernier, which is fairly straightforward. Shaw gets a shot away. It's kind of a half chance, and then Ambrose makes a crucial block to keep us in it just on half time. But we were saying at half time we kind of felt the formation desperately needed to change. That didn't happen, but Mark Milligan came on, and maybe whilst he didn't stand out tonight, there was a huge difference in the midfield in the second half, probably just with his presence alone.
Yeah, I felt we were a bit better organised in the second half. You know, admittedly towards the end of the game I think we're flagging and we are sort of hanging on a wee bit, but you know, Mark is experienced enough and composed enough to kind of take the pace out of that kind of game. That's where Rangers were really hurting us, with that pace in midfield. It's with playing the ball quickly through the midfield. Brian Jack, I thought, put a vastly improved performance on what we've seen from him, particularly over last season. And I think there was maybe one game last season where I thought he played quite well against us. The other, did he play 3 against us last year? I think it was 3. The other 2 I thought he was awful, and didn't let him have a kick. I thought he was much improved tonight. But you know, that's kind of the, you know, what we're talking about is just having that kind of depth in the squad. Having a guy like Mark Millen getting to come off the bench and kind of take the sting out of a game like that is vital. It's noticeable over the past few weeks when we've not had that option. Same with Marvin Bartley when we have him in the squad, is even if he doesn't start every game, a game like this where at half time you're looking at it and you're thinking we're getting overrun in midfield, we need somebody to slow it down, we need somebody to put their foot on the ball. Guys like Marv and Mark are perfect for that kind of thing. So it's good to have him back. Like I say, you know, hopefully we get Marv back soon enough as well. But yeah, it's certainly good to see him back in the squad, and good to see Martin Boyle back in the squad as well.
Now we can hear from Neil Lennon speaking with Hibs TV.
Neil, a point tonight against Rangers after a good win on Sunday against Celtic. How did you see that one tonight?
That was a tough game. Rangers were very, very strong. We rode our luck a little bit. We also could have scored. I think both teams could have scored, but I think in the throes of the game Rangers were just a little bit better than us tonight.
I think that the opening period of the game, the first half an hour, I think the stats showed we had about 75% of the possession, but then Rangers came into the game, started to peg us back a wee bit. We defended very well tonight though.
Well, we had to, yeah, but I thought at times even then we were a bit erratic with the ball. Maybe fatigue, I don't know. The squad's a little bit decimated with injuries in the end. We lose a goalkeeper after 10 minutes, which isn't ideal, but Adam came in and did a great job. But we're a little bit loose with the ball at times and a little bit ponderous. But you've got to give credit to Rangers for that as well. They're a good side, and they should be. But yeah, I'm delighted with another clean sheet. That's a fantastic point for Sunday circumstances.
I guess Rangers and Celtic in such short span of time, 4 points out of 6, we'd have probably settled for that beforehand.
Aye, you're right, yeah, with the injuries that we've had, and thankfully we've got some players coming back. Stevie Mullen's feeling his groin, we'll have to see how he is. Offie, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. You know, Milligan got a half, and you know, Grant Hanlon aren't a million miles away as well, so we need a few bodies just to get the energy levels back up again.
That's a frustration though, losing the goalkeeper. You've got to make a substitution replacing your goalkeeper. It then leaves you a little bit short on what you can do to affect the game tactically.
Spot on, because you don't want to make the third sub too early in case we pick up another injury, and you wanted to get Boiler on earlier, but we felt we needed Millie in there just to give us a little bit more physicality in midfield.
Is that maybe one that you think should be looked at? If you've got to replace a goalkeeper, it should be a free substitution. You know, goalkeeper's a specialist position.
That'd be nice. It would be nice, yeah, but especially 10 minutes into the game. But I don't know why we're picking these injuries up. I don't know. You know, Offie's played the last 2 games, looked very comfortable, not really had a great deal to do, and you know, 10 minutes into the game he's popped his calf. So thankfully we've got 2 very good goalkeepers.
Your defenders, we said, were tremendous tonight. Ryan Porteous and Effie Ambrose again, I thought stood tall. Effie had a few decent blocks. Ryan winning everything in the air again.
I thought Ryan was superb. I thought Hyman had a great game. I thought Whittaker had a very good game. I thought Louis second half stuck this task very well. The rest of the players could do better, you know. So Effie, I thought, was erratic at times compared to the level that we've seen from him in the past, or this season in particular. So I'm not going to be losing any sleep over that. At the end of the day, it's 3 clean sheets in a row. We've got to take that as a positive.
Game's coming thick and fast. Livingston at home here at Easter Road on Saturday. Another big one to look forward to.
Yeah, Livingston, Rangers, Hearts. You know, so we'll regroup, we'll see how the bodies are, and hopefully we'll have a bit more freshness in the squad for the weekend. But that's a tough game. Livingston obviously had a superb win on Friday night.
The second half, Rangers, they must have been forced into bringing on McCrory for Arfield, because Arfield looked decent. But I don't think Rangers had, I can't think of Bogdan having many saves to make in the second half. Looking again, second half chances, Hibs counter, Hyman is through. He's got Canberra, he's left, he's right to go himself, but it's a poor finish. Slivka then has half a chance at the edge of the box, just one touch too many. There's a Bogdan save from Tavernier, and then probably our best chance of the game. There's a very nice back heel from Canberra. Shaw has just got too much pace for Gareth McCauley, considering how old McCauley is. He was subbed about a minute after this, but it's well
past his bedtime at that point. He was on the Oval team before the game, so.
And it's a huge chance for Shaw, and he quite simply squanders it. He puts it well over.
Yeah, I mean, we're joking about Gareth McCauley there, but I actually think he does really well to get back and at the very least put Shaw off. You wonder if Ollie's maybe not gone full pelt at it because he thinks the flag's going to go up. Obviously Ollie will be disappointed with the finish, and it's the kind of chance he should be taking, but you know, that was one of the bright sparks, is that I think at times you kind of saw that a couple of weeks ago, the Kilmarnock game, the Dundee game here, there wasn't really that confidence to try those sort of things out, and when we were trying them out, they weren't coming off. It's a lovely flip from Canberra. I was trying to think, like, it's sort of kind of Romario and Edmundo from Vasco da Gama.
I thought you were going to go Bergkamp.
Well, I was thinking Bergkamp, but Bergkamp sort of flicked it to himself. But yeah, lovely flick around the corner, and obviously Ollie Shaw's a man on form at the moment. Got a couple of goals in his last couple of games. Same with Flo Canberra. You're starting to see the confidence come back in those players, but obviously Ollie, I think, will be disappointed not to see that one hit the back of the net. Yeah,
and he has another half chance not long after that. I think it was more difficult than it looked. Yeah,
the height I think the ball's at when he tries to make connection with it, when he has to make connection with it, is a bit more difficult, and even the initial ball in from Slivka, Flo's probably slightly disappointed that his touch isn't a shot on goal. It almost sort of gets caught under his foot that makes the ball spin back up, and Shaw just hooks it back over the bar. Obviously that's a much more difficult chance, but again, one that I'm sure both of them are disappointed they couldn't take.
Yeah, so Ollie goes off a couple of minutes after that. Good to see Martin Boyle come back, and then we've got Morelos has a couple of chances. There's one where he again does very well to beat Ambrose, but his volley goes well wide of the goal, and then has a header, which is probably their best chance the second half, which he puts over the bar. And then I've already talked about that block where Effie and Ryan team up to make Mega Man, and they blocked that Candace one. That was when Candace was lining up the shot. That was the one where I thought, this is it, here we go.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to take an age to actually drop him, and when it does, you're just looking at him and thinking, well, where's he going to put this? Is he going to go bottom right? Is he going to go bottom left? Is he just going to absolutely smash it past Bogdan? But it's a commitment from Effie and Ryan there to throw themselves in the way of that and get the block off and manage to scramble it away. There
was a nice moment after it as well where they found each other and gave it was like a proper double high five and hug. They were proud of their efforts there, and rightly so. But I think after that there's another one Morelos puts just wide. Candace, I forgot about this, the fresh air shot, which is right across goal, that he completely misses. And at that point, and we could probably factor fatigue in. We talked about how much Sunday would have taken out the players given the pressing and the chasing. Rangers weren't giving us an inch tonight, so there was tired legs, and that was pretty evident about 70 minutes in, especially for maybe someone like Stephen Whittaker, let's call him experienced, I'll not call him old, but somebody of Whittaker's experience,
it's vintage.
It's a slog, 180 minutes in 4 days, and it almost seemed like Rangers had an extra man at times.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where our injury list at the moment is really going to hit us, especially over this festive fixture period, hectic festive fixture schedule, as the cliche goes. It's one of those where you look at the guys we've got out at the moment, likes David Gray, of Paul Hanlon, even guys who are sort of fringe players in the squad, like Charlan Boss Mavrias. It's difficult at the moment to bring those guys back, or to not have those guys in the squad. I thought maybe with circumstances with Offio Marciano going off early on has probably changed Neil Lennon's plan for substitutions. Sean Mackey certainly gave an excellent account of himself when he came on Sunday, and I'm sure it would have been in the back of Neil's mind as the game's going on there, had we not already made that sub. We've got likes of Jerry McLaren can come off the bench, honestly. But it's one of those where maybe Rangers' squad depth is a little bit better than us at the moment. They're able to bring guys like Glenn Middleton comes off the bench sort of later on, McCrory comes off the bench, Joe Worrell comes off to defence to replace McCauley when they need that extra little bit of pace at the back. But I mean, that's what January's for. January's for bringing in reinforcements in those positions. It's unfortunate we have 3 games to go until then. But the players will have a slight rest now before the game in Livingston on Saturday. Unfortunately after that it's thick and fast. I think it's 3 games in the space of 7 days. So it is tough at the moment, but players have given a good account of themselves so far, and the message from Neil Lennon will just be keep going.
Yeah, so I think to wrap up this game, Hyman had a shot that was easily saved. We've already talked about the incident at the end, so we'll not dwell on that, but let's give a little bit of time to Ryan Porteous' yellow card. Now we should be starting a league table of, we've already got the Porteous scale for a tackle.
It's kind of the Richter scale, but,
that would have been high up there on the Porteous scale. But not only, I thought there wouldn't have been a better yellow card than Ryan Porteous at McDermott Park in one of the first games of the season. He really done a number on Koulibaly there.
Yeah, I mean, NASA would have been proud of that launch.
But it's just a booking. Like, we should say that
it's just a booking, and listen, Ryan's a tough tackling player. It's an element of his game that I hope he never loses. I think we spoke on Sunday a little bit about how his tackling had become so much cleaner, how he was winning the ball and he wasn't picking up as many yellow cards. Obviously,
we've done that. We blew that out of the water.
So that was good. But it's the funniest thing about it is kind of him running away after it, as if Thompson's going to forget to book him, and then not going back when he's called. And then I think as Goldson runs from virtually his own half to have a go at Porteous, Porteous has a go back. He has a go at Tavernier. I think Morelos tries to have a little sort of nibble at him, and he just has a go back at him as well. It's just, the man. I mean, the man is he does not care, and I mean that is a brilliant attitude to have playing in his position. And long may that continue, as long as he's not hurting people.
There was a fantastic moment, and I think it was just after the yellow card. I think maybe the free kick went out for a goal kick, or nothing came of it anyway. But Porteous, does Morelos miss half a chance from it? Maybe
I think it's the one where he mishits it and puts it over the bar.
Porteous is just there just to let Morelos know how bad a miss that was, or how bad a shot it was. And Morelos kind of is obviously starting to finally learn his lesson, because he doesn't really react. He just gives Ryan a little pat on the head. But I really love Ryan Porteous. I'll just declare my man love right now.
I think there was kind of, obviously at the start of last season, the friendly against Sunderland, he destroys Lee Cattermole, which I mean, I'd give him the freedom of the city for that, but that was kind of sort of it was like the teaser at the end of a Marvel film. You know what you're getting in the next edition, and you're getting this season is Ryan Porteous.
Should we just rename this a Ryan Porteous show?
I think we should. The fact that I think he's become the first name on the team sheet this season, and I think in the minds of fans he's become the first name on the team sheet for a reason. Certainly I'm sure Neil Lennon probably has his own opinion on the challenges. I'm sure he quite enjoys them as well. From a fan's point of view, you feel safe when you have that kind of Hibs going into that kind of challenge. You don't feel like we're going to lose it. There's not one game that Ryan Porteous has played, given that he must be coming up for about maybe 30 appearances for the club now, possibly more than that.
More than
40. Which for a guy who's 19 is extremely impressive. But there's never been a game in that, and he's played against vastly more experienced players. He's played against younger players who are quicker than him. He's played against teams in Europe. There's not been one game where he's ever looked intimidated, or where he's ever looked like it's been a mismatch. I think we go back to that Rangers game at Ibrox last season. We talked about how mature he was in that performance. He's come on leaps and bounds since then, I mean, I'm pretty sure we could do a solid hour on our love of Ryan Porteous and do our top 10 Ryan Porteous tackles, which we might actually do, to be honest. But as long as he's here, and I mean, we have got him on a long contract, which I think is absolutely essential. I think we just enjoy it while it lasts. I think he's probably only got another few minutes before he gets suspended in a game anyway. So, I mean,
it's fine because it's a 14-day thing. So the important thing is, even if he gets booked, on Saturday or at Ibrox, let's face it, he probably will.
Yeah.
There's no threat of him missing the derby unless obviously he gets sent off against Rangers,
which is great. And it's the same way that that we get when we watch the Stevenson, and there's a Hibs fan who's playing for the club, who's living the dream. We get the same feeling with Ryan Porteous. There's a lot of fans, I think, living vicariously through Ryan Porteous when he's flying into tackles against the likes of Rangers and Hearts. So yeah, long may it continue, and another fantastic performance tonight.
And so next up is Livy. We may have mentioned on Sunday's podcast that they recently beat Hearts 5-0.
Did they?
Yeah, it was. They scored 5 goals in about 15 minutes. It was bizarre. But all that aside, I think they're 6th in the league. We beat them, we go above them, we go into the top 6. But it's not going to be easy. We can't let the last couple of results go to our heads. We need to ensure that we're picking up 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we joked that Livingston beat Hearts 5-0, which they did.
They did last week.
5-0.
5 goals in 15-18 minutes. Like that.
They still beat Hearts 5-0,
yeah.
and Hearts are still above us in the league. So I mean, it speaks volumes about them. I mean, Hearts obviously just absolutely capitulated. I saw the highlights the other day, and I think it was to just hit the self-destruct button. From a purely analytical point of view, not that was hilarious point of view. So Livingston are obviously a dangerous side. Ryan Hardy's just come back into the squad and looks like he's been playing in it since the start of the season. He's on absolute fire at the moment. Scott Pittman and Sean Byrne in the game at Almondvale this season, I thought were extremely impressive. And just the work that they put in that Livingston midfield, so industrious. Obviously with Halkett, Gallagher and is it Lithgow at the back?
Yeah,
it's the other centre half.
I think we were a bit shell shocked, and we really went to town on Hibs.
We did
that one, but the results since then maybe.
Well, I mean, I think it was justified, because it's still, regardless of whether it's a good Livingston performance, I still think it was a bad Hibs performance.
Yeah, but especially to throw away from 1-0.
Well, exactly.
Well.
And maybe Livingston are a different animal on this pitch, rather than on the surface at Almondvale. They're still a good side. They're still, I think, going to go down as the surprise package of this season. Maybe barring what United do in the Championship, maybe for the whole of Scottish football, but they're certainly going to be a threat. They are a very good side. They've got some very talented players in that team, and I'm sure there'll be a few clubs kind of sniffing around some of those players in January. It's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a scrappy one. Livingston are going to want to make it a scrap. That's the kind of game that suits them. Again, that's no criticism of the way Gary Holt's kind of sets up his team. It's just it's what works for Livingston. By the same token, we've been improving over the past few games, and to go into Christmas in the top 6, given where we were a couple of weeks ago, would be a huge achievement, and certainly would give us a lot of momentum going into that horrific double-header against Rangers and Hearts. But we have to turn up. We have to put in a performance. We have to. I'm sure there'll be a decent enough crowd here, given our performance over the last few games. We want to make it as merry a Christmas as possible for everybody here, but it'll be an interesting one, and it's going to require a big sort of digging in performance again, but it's one that we should be looking to win.
Here's Lewis Stevenson talking with Cliff.
Lewis, a tough battle tonight against Rangers, but a point, 4 points out of 6 against the Old Firm. We'd have probably settled for that before we played them.
Probably, aye. I think it's a good point at the end of the day. I think, if I'm being honest, we did get a bit lucky. I think they had the better chances, the more shots. And I think after Sunday, I think we were expecting a lot more, and we didn't quite produce. But as you say, 4 points isn't too bad. But I think it shows the measure how far we've came, that we're sitting there disappointed that we got a draw against Rangers.
It's a big effort against Celtic on Sunday. Did that play a part tonight? Do you think just a wee bit of fatigue or something?
No, we can't use that as an excuse. I think they played Thursday, Sunday as well. So if anyone had an excuse, it was probably them. But it's a point at the end of the day, and I said last season, I think they got the 3 points that was kind of the opposite way about a smash and grab by then, so a point at the end of the day is not too bad.
We did have chances. Ollie Shaw had a couple of chances, albeit they were difficult ones, but as you say, in the second half there we had to stand strong defensively, but we did it.
3 clean sheets in a row, I think, but tonight we're under no illusions that they could have scored a couple at least, so No, we need to move on, and I think this will be a good point if we can get the win on Saturday. Then 7 points out of those 3 games isn't not too bad.
There's a lot of hard work at the back though, a lot of bodies thrown on the line. There were vital blocks made, boys throwing themselves in front of shots. That's the sort of commitment that we need.
Yeah, there's times where I think we're letting them get in fairly easy, but last ditch defending was pretty good. We did make it hard for them, and a few decent blocks and stuff, but overall I don't think we created enough tonight, and probably didn't give the strikers the service that we had the last couple of weeks.
Such is the way the fixture card is. The games are coming thick and fast. As you say, Livingston here at Easter Road on Saturday. A game we played against them at Ammanville earlier on in the season. We probably should have won that one, but we contrived to throw the points away, I would say. We'll be looking to try and do better on Saturday and take the 3 points from that one.
To be honest, I think that game at Ammanville we deserved to get beat. I don't think it was probably one of the worst performances of the season, and we need to rectify that. They're in great form, and flying high in the league, and quite rightly so. Every time I've seen them, they've worked their socks off, and we're going to have to match them in every way like that.
They've got a certain style, Livingston, that they stick to. They're sometimes difficult to cope with. They're a big physical side. A lot of it is kind of one-dimensional, route one stuff. You've got to be aware of that and deal with it.
No, definitely. It's effective. It's working for them. So there's plenty of ways to skin a cat, so to speak. And now we'll have to deal with their threat. They've got a lot of good players. I think sometimes the style of football gets overshadowed. They've got some quality players, and to be in the breath of fresh air this season, and it's going to be a tough game for us, as tough as the Rangers and Celtic game.
As ever, it comes down to what we do. We don't need to worry about them. If we do what we can do, we'll beat them.
Hopefully, I think if we play, especially the way we did against Celtic, then we'll give anyone a good game. So it's going to be tough, but as you say, if we can play the way we know we can, then I think we've got every chance.
So that'll do us for this week's episode. The extended highlights from Wednesday night's game are now available, along with all the usual other classics, archive matches, DVDs, etc. on Hibs TV. Next up is Livingston on Saturday, Easter Road. Ticket details online for that one, and international subscribers, you'll be able to see the full match live. Until then, my thanks to James Delaney as always for joining me. Massive thanks to you for listening, and join us next time on The Ryan Poacher Show.